Hi, this is Olaf. As you can see, I'm back in Martinique. We are now 11 weeks away from the Ironman World Championships in Kona, and this is episode 30 of my journey to the Ironman World Championships in Kona and St. George. First, a little bit of an update. So 11 weeks only to Kona, which means that now is really we're getting into the serious or really last big training block. I mean, sort of 1 month before the race, typically the training is done. So it's really those next 2 months, those next 6 weeks that will determine how well the race is gonna go. So I moved back to Martinique on Sunday, flew back here, had a sort of 1 hour 30 run in Paris early in the morning. That was really quite beautiful. Before I took the plane, so that felt really good. Was sort of steady, quite fast actually, or felt sort of 4:30 pace, a little bit faster. So that felt really good. Was quite happy with that, and and then arrived here in Martinique for basically the next few training blocks in the preparation. So obviously I have to get used to the heat and especially the humidity. In Europe at the moment it's there are heat waves, so it's probably even hotter, but the humidity here is definitely something else. I'm counting on that also to prepare well for Kona. So let's have a look at quickly what I did. So started off with on Monday 2 hour easy recovery bike, and then 40-minute easy run, and 3,000 meter in the pool, sort of easy with pole paddles and band. So that was really just to get back here. Then on Tuesday I did 1 hour 20 run with 4 times 3 kilometer steady. So that was around 4:10 pace. I did at the airport here with my son Theo, so it's pretty awesome. He's going to be here for the next 6 weeks, and he can basically follow me on all my running sessions. So it's awesome to have somebody to be able to train with. Then on Tuesday did also a swim session with there was 3.5k with 20 times 25, 20 times 50, and 20 times 75, always sort of one fast, one easy. And then sort of the serious stuff started since Wednesday. So I did a 3-hour bike on the trainer, which included 6 times 15 minutes at 250 watts. So basically did 15 minutes easy, 15 minutes so easy at around 190 watts, and then 15 minutes at 250. So that was definitely not necessarily harder, but I was able to keep my heart rate sort of steady at just under 140 on the harder efforts. I did it in the gym here on the trainer, left the door open, which means that humidity was sort of at 80%, not too hot, and obviously in the shade. So, but that went well, but felt good. And then I had a pretty hard swim session as well. With 3 times 10 times 100 meters. They were all pull paddle band, and it was basically with the first one was off 135, the second one was 5 off 135, 5 off 130, and then the last one was all 10 off 130. And so I was really happy that I was able to do that. So I was in the big pool in the La Montagne, which is always a little bit cooler than the other pools. So I was super happy that I was able to do that session. And yesterday we did a pretty hard run session with 30 times 400 meters. And always 100 meters sort of easy 5-minute pace, 200 meter fast 320 pace, and then 100 meter again easy around 5 minutes or even pace or even slightly lower, and then only 20 seconds rest between the 400. So it was almost sort of 12k continuous, which with 30 times 200 meter really fast, and also happy I was able to do that. Then I had a sort of recovery swim, which I cut a little bit short. I did only 4k instead of 5 because it was lunchtime and the pool was hot, and just obviously not great to cut that short, but not a key session, so not so much of an issue. And today I did one bike, first bike session. I have another one this afternoon. But I did the first one, which was the one I sort of failed in Paris last week, so it always feels good to be able to do that. So there was 10 times 6 minutes as 1 minute 50 RPM at 250 watts, 1 minute very high RPM at 110 watts, and then 1 minute at 70 RPM at 300 watts, 1 minute at around 95 RPM, and then 1 minute hard at 300 watts plus with 1 minute recovery. So I was able to finish that session well, and sort of a small swim session and a second bike session later today, and then on the weekend I have a 2 hour 30 run. Very easy, but let's see in the heat how it's gonna go. Probably going to do it at the airport as the first time because it's flat there, and then a first 5-hour bike on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna go back out on the roads here. I haven't done that in a while, but definitely the long bikes now are gonna be back on the road. So overall a little bit my right hip. It's a little bit sore. I feel a little bit in the evening, but don't feel it at all during exercise. My knees are fine at the moment. The calves, the tendons, all that seems to be good. My neck is also fine. So I think it's all green in terms of sort of injuries or small pains. I'm gonna start seeing the physio again next week, once a week. I still have to do a little bit. I already have done a bit, but still have to do a little bit more stretching. But in terms of injury, all that is all green. Obviously, I haven't fallen off the bike since last week. I've done everything sort of indoors. I'm doing this easy stuff easy. So overall, it's looking good. Motivation is still not sort of 100%, but definitely like to push, and looking forward at this next training block. So all good. Alright, I went to check and have a look at the past Kona results in the M50-54 age groups and share a little bit my thoughts on those. And there are several things that I find really, really interesting. So the first thing is that in this age group, and it's definitely, as I mentioned before, is definitely getting different, or it's definitely getting quite a bit harder to do good results in the 50-54 age group. I mean, as I mentioned, after 40, you have sort of 4 or 5 minutes that are getting lost per year on average when you look at either the winner or the average of the top 5 or the top 10. So it's just getting slower. Now, can you really take the past results as sort of a good indicator? Because the carbon shoes obviously are making a difference. The bike technology compared to sort of 5-6 years ago is also making a difference. I mean, I can feel the difference with my Canyon bike compared to where everything is integrated, etc. It's much faster, I find, or definitely faster than the Seapo had, where the cables were out, etc. So, but there's still obviously it's useful to look at the past results. And so what I'm taking away from it is, number one, that the difference between the first and the fifth is always quite significant. And it doesn't matter if it's a fast year, if it's not a fast year. You typically have sort of between 20 and to 30 minutes difference between the first and the fifth. So afterwards, obviously, it gets a little bit tighter, but I find that is a really big difference, and is also going to be something to keep in mind during the race, because even if you're 20 minutes or even if you're 30 minutes behind sort of the leader after the bike, because you have some super fast swimmers and some people who just crush the bike in Kona, you can still finish in the top 5. So that for me is really something important to know, and that's quite interesting when you look at the results. So that's number one. The second thing is, when you look at the runs, only very few people run under 320 in Kona. So in St. George, which was only up and down, and it was hot, obviously not humid, but it was hot. I mean, it felt relatively easy, and I went 320. So, it's definitely a good performance, and you don't have to run a 3-hour marathon in order to be super competitive. So for somebody like me who's not a fantastic swimmer, obviously I've made progress, and I hope I can swim relatively close to 1 hour in Kona, but the bike is the big question mark. I think I hope that I can get close or even slightly under 5 hours, but then in order to get a good time, you definitely need to run a marathon in something like 3:15, and that would be my target. But with that, you're almost guaranteed to have a podium. The time is probably around 9:30 that you need to do in order to be certain to do podium. But so first, run times are in the 50-54 age group slow, and much slower than in other age groups. I mean, in the 40s, for example, people still run sort of 3-hour marathons, and in the 50s you just don't see that anymore. So that's the second thing, quite important. The third point is that the conditions can be vastly different. I mean, 2018 was super fast year. That's where also the first time the record was broken, and Patrick Lange went under 8 hours. So and so that's the same for everyone, you know. So in difficult years you can get on the podium if you run just under 10 hours in my age group, in the 50-54 age group. In super fast year with you know, which is like 2018 was, you know, for all the fastest year. Then to be on the podium you needed to do a 9:30. So, you know, yeah, I think to take away from that, and that happened also in the past, if the conditions are super tough and you sort of expect to crush the bike and to do you know, 450 or 455, and then, you know, you come in and over 5 hours, you know, if you're able to put in a decent run, you can still be on the podium. So yeah, especially in those tough conditions, fight until the end. Make sure you know, you don't kill yourself on the bike, and yeah, it's definitely not finished until the very end. So I think those are the three most important things that I'm taking away from that. So differences are huge between first, even, and fifth. Obviously it depends very much on the conditions, and the runs are typically much slower than the faster age groups. So yeah, that definitely gives me motivation to hopefully achieve my goal, which is to be back on the podium in the greatest race in Ironman there is, which is in Kona. So thanks again for watching. I'm back home here in Martinique, so happy to take you along my journey for the last big training weeks before Kona. So yeah, like, subscribe, let me know your comments, and stay tuned.